at what point did you guys, or did you say, I'm going to put it together an all-female crew?
It was like, if I like doing this, there's got to be other women that like to do this. We just got to give them a chance.
Right.
He started with an ad in the racing paper.
Looking for women. Lots of fun. Hard work, lots of fun, no pay.
I'm Cathy Venturini.
And I'm Bill Venturini.
And we're watching the Derek
Persiglio show.
Get out, drive you!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Derek Persiglio Show. And boy, we have got two special guests in the studio. We have got two-time ARCA champion Bill Venturini, but we also have his wife Cathy here, who served on the Ultra Blue crew, the all-female pit crew. That was pretty cool. And guys, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Well,
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah, nice to be on the show. First time with you, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I am friendlier, obviously, with your daughter Wendy. We worked together for a while at NASCAR Images when they were around, and had a lot of fun working with her. We're all Italian, so we kind of got each other.
Yeah, we get it.
We kind of understand each other. But how have you guys been doing? And it's great to see you. You both look great. And how's the season going? You got a couple of wins.
Well, we got 5 in a row so far. So,
a couple of wins.
Yeah, a couple of wins. Can't complain. We've won 2 on the West Coast with Sean Higurani. We ran Irwindale and then Bakersfield, so we won those. And then we won Talladega. And then we won Kansas. And there was one more. I don't remember, because we're 5 in a row.
Dover.
And Dover. And then we won Dover. Oh,
you win
gosh.
so much you forget, huh? It's becoming that big.
Well, because 2 of them were the ARCA Menards West Series, and then Dover was the ARCA East Series, and then Talladega was the ARCA Premier Series. So, this is our first time ever running the West Series. We only run like 1 or 2 races a year, and that's out Phoenix at the end of the year. Well, now we're running the whole schedule this year for the West Series, and we're running the whole East Series, which we've never done before either. So I think we're running 2 full-time in the East Series, 1 full-time in the West Series, and 4 full-time in the Premier Series.
How do you guys manage to balance all of that? Because, I mean, originally you guys are of the original ARCA organization,
right,
where it was, when they were Cup cars, basically, right? They were the same as a Cup car back then.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you've got 4 teams, sometimes a 5th, right?
Yep.
Yep.
How do you balance the East Series, the West Series, and then the national stuff?
Billy.
I was going to say, we really don't.
Right.
My son Billy does all of that. She handles payroll, and she handles all the paying the invoices. I handle all the invoices coming in. I handle mostly the truck stuff, insurance stuff. As far as the racing part of it, the competition part of our company, that's my son Billy. I got to give him credit. I don't know if I should give him credit or really be pissed at him because of we're talking about maybe slowing down, and he gives us the most races we've ever had. Like when we go to the way we figure it out and count it. Like we go to Talladega, we have 4 cars, so we have to prepare technically 4 full teams. So
and 8 cars, because you got to have a backup, right?
Yes. So we're talking. We call that 4 races because we've prepared 4 full teams. The most we've ever done, I think, was like 87 in a year. This year we've at 102. So
races.
102 teams that we have to prepare for the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not races. Like when we go to Talladega, I said that's 4. We count that 4.
Okay, gotcha.
Like Nashville this week, that's 2. So. But we have to prepare 102 teams throughout the year.
And how big of a staff do you guys have?
What have we got?
There's 15
full-time employees.
15 full-time.
And then we have employees that we have contract workers for the weekends that help us.
Yeah. On the weekends, we have anywhere between 45 and 60 employees total.
Do you guys still do a little bit of the old school stuff where you're in that area, contact a friend and see if they want to come help on the team?
Of course.
Oh, yeah?
Not as much help, but just come and visit with us. We're in our one of the golden years or whatever.
Right.
Well, actually, this will be our 50th year anniversary, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations to you both. I've barely hit my first anniversary yet. It's coming up in August. So.
Well, we're 50 years in racing this year and 50 years married.
Right.
Wow. No kidding.
We've done it 50 years being married in racing.
Yeah.
So you started racing the first year you were married.
On our honeymoon.
Weekend.
On the weekend of our honeymoon.
So wait a minute. You were racing on your honeymoon?
Yes.
How did this go over with your side of the family?
Oh,
I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, she pushed, believe me, she's pushed racing more than twice in the 50 years I've actually said I quit. I'm done. And she'll get to the point she says, I can't stand you anymore. Let's go. We got to go racing.
Oh, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
Huh? You start to get on her nerves?
Yeah. He gets in my way.
Do you guys work together in the office?
Yes.
Oh, you do? You don't get on each other? Well, I'm sure you
We've worked together for 50 years.
So you're figuring each other out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you figured it out.
I'm married to an Italian woman.
Yeah.
You learn to just bite
Yeah.
your lips.
No, I know.
You know.
I'm an Italian. It always just, I get it. I come from that background. So, yeah.
When we had our gas stations, she was part of the gas station business in Chicago. And then when we decided to move to Charlotte 30 years ago, it's been 30 years since we moved to Charlotte, we bought one gas station here in Concord, North Carolina, because I was kind of scared. You know, I knew how to make a living owning gas stations, but here I am going down to North Carolina. And I had that for 10 years. Actually, I had it for about 2 years, and she had it for 8 years.
So you took it over and ran everything.
Well, it was one of those bad days. I came home and I threw the keys on the kitchen counter, and I said, "There's the keys to the gas station." She says, "Yeah," and I says, "I'm not going in tomorrow. I'm not opening it up." She says, "What?" I said, "There it is. If you want it, there's the keys. Go open it up." So she ran it for 8 more years.
Oh, and what were you doing in that time? Racing?
Yeah.
Or just building cars?
Yeah. Well,
Going to the shop.
Going to the shop.
day.
Going to the shop every day. Yeah. At that point, I think it was just me and my son and one other employee. So, we didn't get to where we are till about 10 years ago when Billy took over the company. It was at a point where we had gone to the point where I spent all of my resources that we had to go racing for my son Billy. And finally, it was, 2007. I don't even know what year it was, but the season ended, and I sat him in the office, and I said, "Billy," I says, "we can't afford to do this anymore." My wife, without me knowing, had already taken a second mortgage. I had remortgaged the house because we had a line of credit. Well, I didn't know it, how we kept racing, and she just kept taking money out of the line of credit. Well, finally, I says, "Well, where are we at?" She says, "Well, we owe a lot of money." And I go, "What?" So I sat down with Billy, and I said, "We can't do this anymore." I says, so what do you want to do? And he said, "Well, Dad, I love racing. This is my life. I don't want to quit." And I said, "Okay, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you part of the company. You do what you want with it. You grow it, whatever you want to do. I'll support you, but you have to do it. I'm not going to go. I'm kind of getting in the back seat." And he said, "Okay." And he started this. Had a good relationship with J.D. Gibbs because he had run Legends cars with J.D. And we started kind of a little development program, and JD said, "Hey, I got this kid. He's not old enough to run in NASCAR yet, but maybe we can run him in ARCA." And it was Joey Logano. So we said, "Okay." Billy says, "All right." We put him in the car. We went to Rockingham with Joey and spanked the field. We lapped everyone but the second place car. So
of course.
So it kind of, it put us on the map.
Okay.
And then he ran for us for 2 years, just selected races. He won Pocono with us. He ran Daytona, he ran Talladega. And that's how we got put on the map. And then Billy just started to increase. And I kind of warned him, I'd probably say 8 years ago, I said, "Just remember, you're creating a monster. And you have to feed that monster.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day." I said, "You got to now like today. Okay, look out in the shop, Billy. You've got 15 families that rely on our program." So he says, "I know, Dad." I says, "Well, okay." I got to tell you, Derek, he's done a phenomenal job with our program. As you can see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are the Hendrick Motorsports of ARCA.
I hear that all the time. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I gotta take it. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys have built pretty much a dynasty in the ARCA series.
Well, I appreciate that.
That's cool. No ever thoughts of doing like an Xfinity series or truck stuff, or you're just happy where the empire you've built, huh?
We've talked about it. Billy talked about it. You know how you say, I don't want to be the minnow in the ocean. I like being the big fish in the pond.
Right.
We make a living. All of our employees make a good living. We offer insurance. We offer. There's a bonus program in our company, so we're very happy where we're at. We don't want to take the chance and go Xfinity racing or truck racing. And how many teams make a profit?
Right. And that also, and you guys technically you're a business. You have to keep the doors open, the lights on, and everything like that. So why take the chance, on a possibility when what you've got is working?
And we're, like I said, we're 50 years married. I'm 70 years old. How many?
Really?
Yeah.
You look great.
Gee, thanks. How much longer do I want to do this? I made Billy make me a promise. 5 years ago? I said, do me a favor. I said, let's make sure we still are around for our 50th anniversary for the racing team. So this is our 50th year, and I told him, I says, after that, I don't know what I'm going to do. I keep saying that, but I don't think I could quit.
My father is the same way. He keeps saying, I'm gonna slow down doing this, kid. He's gonna be 79 years old this year, and he's been fielding midgets since the 70s. And we tell him all the time, don't slow. If you slow down, you're gonna come to a complete stop, because this is your exercise. This is this is what keeps your blood flowing. This is what keeps you vital. So keep doing it. Now his grandson is driving for him.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah. And they're not doing too bad. We're just a small family midget team that races in the Northeast. But that's kind of like how you guys started off, right? As a small family team in Chicago. What part of Chicago?
Right by O'Hare Airport, northwest side.
Okay.
Our race shop was our 2-car garage.
Yeah. Really?
In fact, when we got our second race car, in order for Billy to play basketball as a kid on the driveway, they had to push the car into the grass.
Now, was that the same garage you won your championship out of?
Yeah, the first one.
Both of them.
Oh, yeah, both of them.
We didn't move until 1993.
In a 2-car garage, you guys built in the ARCA championship.
Well, what was nice was at that point, the first couple of years we ran ARCA, which I started in '83. We ran everything totally out of Chicago. And it was like I had one car. So we would race Daytona, cut the fenders open, go run a short track. Okay, and then if we were going to run a speedway, we'd put new fenders back on it. Oh, it was a mess. I mean, we had one car. And then as we grew, we ended up, like she said, with 2 cars. And then I had to move the cars around in the yard. And then I had a semi, which I parked alongside the house. There was no room whatsoever.
Now, were Wendy and Billy born by this time?
Yes.
Oh, they were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just, then I met Norman Negree. He was the head body man at Stewart Haas for years after he left us. But I met Norman. He was down here in Concord, North Carolina, and I saw one of the cars he did, and I fell in love with him.
We were at Daytona that year.
Yeah, at Daytona, and I said, "Oh my God, look at this Casey Spurlock."
Yep.
His car was beautiful. I said, "My gosh, that car looks nice. Who did the car?" So I met Norman Negree, and we made a deal, and I think it was 86. 85 is when he started to do my stuff for me. Well, then in 86, I bought a car from Cale Yarborough.
Yep.
At the end of the year. And then in 87 is when I won the championship with that car. That was my speedway car. But Norman then kept my speedway cars in Charlotte and Concord. And I kept the short track program in Chicago.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
so he was a satellite. Like when we'd go to run a speedway, we would drive from Chicago to whatever track, and he would just bring the car. I would bring all the equipment and everything with me.
Okay.
And he'd bring the cars to the speedways.
Because they've got all of the information, the technology.
Yeah,
they know how to massage the bodies and all
God,
of that.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So that was that your one and only car? Or no, you had 2 cars, right?
Yeah,
You
I had a short track car and a speedway
And
car.
that was the same year you won the championship, 87? Mm-hmm. You won. Okay, so you did it with 2 cars that year.
Did it with 2 cars then.
Which is unheard of nowadays, because guys are going through cars left and right for one championship.
Yeah, and then in 91, when we won our second championship, we were doing the bodies back at our shop back in Chicago, because now I hired a full-time crew chief at the time, and he was a body man, so that helped a lot. And we had 2 short track cars and 1 speedway car back then. So
And he was working as your employee in your
my
two-car
only
garage.
my
at your
only
house.
full-time employee. Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, you did USAC stock cars first before ARCA, right?
Yeah, in 80.
79.
78, 79, and 80.
Okay.
I quit running USAC in 80 when USAC kind of went downhill, and
They were more open wheel.
yeah. Then there was a USAC driver, Sal Tavella. He started a series in the Chicagoland area called International Racing Association, and it was USAC cars, same as ARCA cars. At that given point, they were the same.
Right.
And we ran that for a couple years. I won a couple championships with him. And then we went to Daytona in 82. Yeah, 82. And I says, well, I always wanted to go there. Always wanted to run Daytona. So I said, let's go try it. So we did.
In 82?
In 82.
With your USAC car, the Camaro?
No, back then. So we had to change. We changed it to a Buick Regal.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Buick Regal. Then in 83, I went down there. I says, all right, I only ran one race in 82 in ARCA. And then in 83, we went down and with a car that Tiger Tom Pistone built for me. It was a Pontiac Le Mans.
Okay.
And I said, well, let's go to Daytona. We'll see. And I think we finished like 6th or 7th, something like that. I don't even remember. So the next race was Nashville.
Hang on, wait, before you go any further, how many cars were they starting in that ARCA race? Because they used to start like
60.
50.
Well, there was probably 60 there. They'd start 40.
Wow.
Yeah, but there'd be 60, 70 cars that would show up. It was crazy.
It was tough to make races back then.
Yeah.
I bet. When 60 cars show up looking for 40 spots in the field, 20 guys are going home, which could make a field of their own, like a non-qualifiers race or something. That is insane. And technically, you guys were using Cup cars at the time, right?
Well, yeah, because I bought the Cale Yarborough car, and then Tiger Tom built me a brand new car. That was my first new ARCA car at that point, and we went to like I said, we went to Daytona, and then we went to Nashville, and I finished second. Well, I'm leading the points now in the ARCA series, and I looked at her and I says, well, let's go to the next race. I says, we'll run ARCA until I'm not leading the points. So we led the next race, and then we led the next race, and then we led the next race. And now I've won at Flat Rock. And I says, oh gosh. We ran the whole season. I led the points from the second race to the last race. And I lost the points championship, by 5 points? I think it was 5 points, which was at that point
One position.
Really? That to Bobby Dotter, right?
Yeah. Hey, you did your homework.
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah.
I try to as much as I can. I try to come prepared.
Yes.
But,
so we.
And that was
83.
83. Okay.
Yeah, 84, same thing. 85, same thing. Just I said, second, third.
That points lead is so addictive when you got it, right?
Gosh, I really hated it, but I loved it.
It's so funny too because I've won championships before racing the open wheel cars, and whoever says when you're leading the points, whoever says you're not thinking about the points, you're lying.
They're bullshit.
Yeah, it's just full of it. Absolutely. So, fast forwarding a little bit, at what point did you guys, or did you say, I'm going to put it together an all-female crew, and my wife is going to be on it, and so is my sister-in-law, and everyone.
Well, she can tell you about that. Go ahead.
Well, after 1985, I think it was, we came back from Daytona, and driving back, we're like, Bill says, there's a lot of drivers down in Daytona. What can we do that's going to bring us some notoriety? And it's like, I don't know, can we get some girls together and teach them how to do pit stops? And we talked about it. That's a long drive from Daytona to Chicago.
That idea just came out of the blue?
Because I had been working with the guys. I had done pit board. I had done overflow. But I never changed a tire. Mm-hmm. So it was like, if I like doing this, there's got to be other women that like to do this. Mm-hmm. We just got to give them a chance.
Right.
So we started putting it together, and He started with an ad in the racing paper. Didn't get any response.
Yeah, at Speed Sport News, put an ad in the paper. Looking for all female, looking for women. Lots of fun, hard work, lots of fun, no pay. Didn't get a response from anybody.
No.
Sometimes the fun is the big selling factor, but
so we started putting the groups of friends of ours together, and we started doing demonstrations. And it took off so good that we were going into every racetrack the day before to do these demonstrations.
Okay.
And it just got too costly.
I wasn't using them as a pit crew yet.
Oh, okay.
They were just doing demonstrations.
Okay. That was at every track?
Well, it depended. Well, the IRA series, we did a lot with them.
Yes. In fact, the first time we did a pit stop during a race was an ASA Milwaukee race.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been.
You know, it was way back, and it was the first time we were going to do an actual pit stop during a race.
Oh, wow.
And that was big. So
that
was the way it
race.
started.
Yeah, and we couldn't it got to the point we couldn't afford it, so we said, hey, we got to quit. Well, then it was like 2 months after we said we quit, Sports Illustrated calls us. They said, we want to do a story on the all-female pit crew. And I said, oh, Kath.
We don't have the girls
We
anymore.
don't have the girls anymore. What are you going to do?
This was after the championship?
No. This is before.
Oh, okay.
So, so then Speedport says, well, we want to do a story. And so at that time, Permatex was the series sponsor for ARCA. And we were now running ARCA full-time. And I happen to know the marketing guy for Permatex, Bill Price, great friend of ours. He was running the racing program. And we said, we talked to him. He says, well, if we're going to do this, Kath, we got to do this right. We got to get somebody that's going to sponsor us.
So we talked to Permatex, and they agreed within an hour.
Within an hour.
They jumped at it.
We said, hey, we want to start
So now we're like, oh gosh, we got to do this now. Now we can't back out.
Now you're committed.
Now we're committed.
Right.
So we started really putting it all together. And
wow.
And the girls practiced in my driveway.
Right.
Oh, and he was brutal to us.
I heard originally they didn't want you changing tires, and you kind of.
I didn't want her changing tires.
You practiced and practiced and was beating everyone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Bill looked at me and says, I don't want you changing tires. You got 2 kids at home. And I'm like, I want to do this. So when he was at work and the kids were at school.
Work at the gas station?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working at a gas station at that time.
I would take the air tank out and the gun, and I'd sit in the garage and practice and practice and practice. So I knew what I was doing.
Oh, good. and those wheels, those bigger steel wheels, those things weighed a ton, too.
80 pounds with the liners in them.
God.
So come time, we're going to get this. We get all of these girls together, and we say, all right, we're going to have tryouts and practice. And she just lays them all away. She's like the fastest one there. Says, man, I can't. Now I gotta let her change tires.
Right.
What am I gonna do?
You sit back and you went, oh shit.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I give you credit because going over the wall is scary because I've done it before during late model races, and you've got cars flying around you, but you got to concentrate on what you're doing.
You got to realize back then there was no pit road speed. Or no limit.
Right.
No helmets.
No
fire suits.
Right. Not like it is now.
No.
The gloves we had were little baseball gloves.
Yeah, we bought baseball gloves.
We didn't have good knee pads like they have today. I mean, it was unbelievable.
We raced the dirt races at Springfield and DeQuoin. We actually, back then, you pitted on the racetrack.
Oh, that's right.
You didn't have, so you pulled in along the inside wall, and the cars are racing by you under green flag, and you're changing tires. Oh, yeah, it was kind of stupid, I gotta say.
They were cowboys back then.
Yeah.
They really
that
were.
was probably the scariest moment of my life. He got a flat tire at the dirt track when they went back green. So he says, all right, I got a rear tire flat. And I says, oh, that's my sister's tire. And he goes, Kath, why aren't you changing it?
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I told my sister, she was reaching over the wall, and I said, just grab onto my shirt if you see a car get sideways.
Yeah.
Grab me out. Don't let me get squished between the wall and the car.
Yeah. Oh, that's scary.
And what the girls have done to help, evolve racing, which a lot of people don't realize it, but back then nobody was doing choreographed, whatever. Choreographed.
There you go.
Pit stops.
You'll get it.
Okay, the girls had to. We had to practice. We had to make, because they were going up against the guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize is Brunhosel jacks, George Brunhosel. The girl back then we had steel Walker jacks, and I was drilling holes in them to make them lighter and doing this and doing that. And George says, "Hey, I'm going to be making some aluminum jacks." I contacted him. So his prototype aluminum jacks, which are now the standard of racing, were used for the girls.
The one pump jack.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't one pump back then.
Oh, okay.
It was like a 5 pump, but the jack went from like 80 pounds to 40 pounds because we went to an aluminum jack. So the girls were the first ones to ever use an aluminum jack. So, now it's standard.
No, yeah, it's amazing. Do you guys still talk to the all-female crew? Do you get together anymore? Or
Well,
what do you
when
do?
this podcast started that NASCAR did on us for Women's History Month, I contacted all the girls and I said, somebody might be calling you to ask you some stories and whatnot. This is who it's going to be. And, well, the girls all started with reunion.
All right.
So we've decided we're having an Ultra Blue Crew reunion at the Milwaukee race
Oh, cool.
in August.
In August.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Who's going to do the pit stops?
No.
You got to realize we're all in our 60s. My sister, who was the baby, is in her 50s.
Well, you still work out, right? When you work out with Wendy's gym, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
6
okay.
days a week.
Really? 6 days a week?
Yeah,
Yes.
she shows me up.
Good for you. That's awesome. I try to work out as much as possible. I tell everybody I work out 3 days a week just to stay 10 pounds overweight. Yeah.
Yeah, you look it.
I like my pizza. I like my pasta, but it's a lot of miles to run to work it off.
It is.
I know. And that's the other thing. You work out like 6 days a week at Wendy's boot camp, right?
Yep.
She's got Burn Boot Camp.
Burn Boot Camp, yeah.
What, 2 locations, I think?
She has 2, yes.
Good
One
for
in,
her.
no, 3 now.
She's got 3.
She's
3.
got Burlington, Mebane, and Central Triad.
Yeah.
Really? So they're way out there.
Yeah, and she
Well,
actually...
they're not that far.
Mom works out
Really.
at the Concord Burn Boot Camp, which isn't my daughter's, but my daughter's a trainer there.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Wendy's involved in all of it.
I know. Man, let me tell you, there's people that play an integral part in your career, in racing. And I have to say that Wendy saved my ass big time, because when race day was canceled, I had moved down here in 2001, worked on race day for just 2 months, and then they canceled the show. TNN canceled it altogether. So here I am, just moved down to North Carolina, don't know anyone, don't know the area, and now I'm out of a job. So I was doing odd jobs, like John Roberts. He had his landscaping company.
Yeah.
I was landscaping with John Roberts, and just did announcing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And around September, Wendy was over at NASCAR Images, and she had dropped my name to the people over there and said, if you need a production assistant, call this guy Derek. And it got the ball rolling to get hired over at NASCAR, and we were over there. I was over there for 11 years.
Good for you.
Yeah, she one of the other people that saved my ass when things got rough around here.
You worked
So,
at
yeah.
TNN for Patty Wheeler.
I did.
So did
yes,
I.
I did. Yeah, Patty was great. She's another one that was in my corner through my career too.
So speaking of Charlotte and doing broadcast, the announcing there, I got to tell you a story.
Okay, here we go.
So I had worked for TNN, and when I got retired, and then Billy was racing, I was doing the ARCA races for TV, and I'm up in the booth, and I'm the color commentator, and Billy's in the race, and Andy Hillenberg's leading the race. The yellow comes out. And I'm up in the broadcast booth, and I got my headset, and I'm talking, and the yellow comes out, and Andy goes past pit road. He's leading. So when he looks in his mirror, well, everyone else behind him peels off onto pit road. Andy's sitting by himself as he's coming through the tri-oval. So what's he do? He cuts across the grass to get in his pit. I totally forget that we're live TV. And I go...
Hot mics and everything.
Hot
right?
mics and everything. And I go, what the fuck is he doing? So, of course, as you would know, in my ear, I hear from the production guy, Bill, we're still live. And then I go, oh, no shit. And then I go, oh, my gosh, oh, God. So that was my one faux or
faux pas
or whatever in doing my broadcasting.
Did you do any more after that? Or?
Yeah. I broadcast all the way till Wendy graduated.
Okay.
I paid for her college education. All of my TV checks, which I did the ARCA stuff. I did all the voiceovers for the Hooters Pro Cup Series. Mm-hmm. I did a couple Xfinity. I did a couple truck races. Mm-hmm. Every one of those checks went to University of North Carolina to pay for her college education. So that was nice. At least I had a subsidy to help fund it. So that was nice.
Those voiceover gigs are great, aren't they? You just
well,
go sit down. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. Talk about what you see on TV.
Well,
get a paycheck.
What was cool about it was they were all voiced over in Atlanta, the ARCA races and the Hooters Pro Cup races. Mm-hmm. Well, the Hooters Pro Cup races, me and my wife would go to some of the races because they were around the southern area, North Carolina or Georgia. So we'd go. So I'd be in the pits and I'd get all the scoops and I'd know what was going on. Well, then come voiceover time, I'm back in the studio and me and oh my gosh, who was it?
Was it
Rick Benjamin?
We had him on here earlier this week, actually. Yeah,
Rick,
great guy.
Me and him, we were like this together, and he knew that I knew all the outcomes, right? And I'd say, race would start, and I said, you got to watch the number 7. He's pretty quick today in practice,
mm-hmm.
and
teeing it up.
Yeah, teeing it up. You got it. Teeing it up, but I had the golf club, so it was kind of neat.
That's great.
And then I go from one side of Atlanta in the morning at 10 o'clock, and then I go to the north side. I was south side for Hooters, the north side with Bob Kramer.
Okay.
And I do the ARCA races there. So I'd get paid, do both gigs, same day in Atlanta, and then I just drive home.
Wow.
I did that for 3 years. That was, but I like that.
I do. I know what you mean. It's fun to do. You get to sit down, watch a race, talk about what's going on. You joke back and forth with the host. So
and then that drive back to Atlanta, that 3 or 4 hour drive, that gave me time to make my business calls on my phone and not be bothered by any employees, and it was kind of nice.
And was this the time that you had the team, right?
Yeah, Billy was racing.
Okay.
Yeah. We've never not had a team. It's just that at that point Billy wasn't racing full time, and that was before we started the driver development program. That was when Billy was racing, when I did all of that.
In all of the years that you've been in ARCA, and you've seen the evolution from what it was then to now, to merging with K&N East and West. Mm-hmm. What has been some of the big, huge changes that your team has had to adjust to? Well,
the first change was the composite body.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the composite body before anyone else did. Actually, our team was the guinea pig, I would say, for the composite bodies. For 5-star, we built a chassis. I don't know when they were going to do it, and they said, hey, we need a chassis to configure a composite body. We built a chassis and sent it up to 5-star, and they used our chassis to actually make the composite bodies for the ARCA cars. That was a big change for us. And then the biggest change was going to the Ilmore engines. Mm-hmm. Back then we leased we owned our own short track motors, but we leased our speedway motors, and sometimes we even leased the short track motors, which was really expensive. Mm-hmm. At that point, we were getting our motors from Gibbs, from JGR. They were doing our motors for us, and then they'd come out with this Ilmore deal. Well, back then you leased your motor, so if I'm going to Daytona, I need $30,000 to lease the motors. Okay, and if I'm going to a short track place, whatever, it was 15 or whatever. So I didn't have to come up with the money. It just on a per race deal, and your money doesn't all come in up front. Mm-hmm. Your money comes throughout the year. Right. Come the Ilmore deal, like we're going to go to Daytona the first year, and we're racing 4 cars. So back then, the motors were like $35,000 or $40,000 a piece. Well, come January, I need to come up with $150,000 to go test, because I got to buy 4 motors, and you've got to have a backup, whatever. And that was the biggest obstacle we had. Fortunately, we had I guess, foreseen what was happening, and we had saved some money and put it away, but we didn't know it was going to be that much money, to do the program. But we were lucky; we were able to get it going. And now, once you own the Ilmar motor, it's a better program. It is worth the money, but the biggest problem is the outlay to buy them.
The startup
cost on them.
Okay, I understand. With the way that we are seeing the full fendered racing going now with the like the Cars Tour, ARCA, can a guy move up the ladder without on his talent anymore? I mean, we are seeing more and more guys buying their way into rides and everything, but I understand why. You guys are a business, you got to keep the business going, but is it possible for someone to get a ride on their ability anymore? That's a long pause.
I'd have to say no.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, it's got to be funded from somewhere.
Right.
Doesn't have to be the driver. It could be the manufacturer. It could be a sponsor. It could be, but all of us in ARCA today, it's over $1 million to run a program a year. Do I have it? No.
Right.
I've had throughout the years. We've had some fathers say, "Well, can you do this? Can you cut us a price on that?" And I said, "Well, listen. If I wanted to spend my money racing, my son would be driving.
Right.
You want me to cut $10,000 off your bill? Sure. You buy the tires. Well, what do you mean? Well, tires cost $11,000. Whatever. I hate it. I hate the idea that it's so expensive to do it.
Yeah, because you're old school.
I'm old school.
You came from the days of getting a ride because you can drive.
Right. I had a gas station. I funded it myself. But then again, I look back at our fortunate was when it got to the point where it got too expensive for me to do that. I got lucky and I got Amico as a sponsor. Then I had Rain-X and then True Value. I was very fortunate that I had some good corporate people to back me. Come Billy's time in his career, at that point, it got too expensive to get that kind of money to do it. So it was kind of a combination. Some corporate sponsorship. Permatex was good with us with Billy. They did a lot of races with him through the Bill Price. I told you I knew him very well. Every time they came out with a new product, he would sponsor us for that. We had some friends. It got to the point where you couldn't do it.
Right.
Then it got to the point where you couldn't even get those people to do it, because then it got to be, $600,000 and $700,000. And I'm not saying you can't race ARCA for less. You can, but you can't at the level the level we're racing.
Right.
And we get the kids. I would have to say, Toyota does not fund anyone 100%. I know Chevrolet is I shouldn't even say that. Our Rev Racing deal is a Chevrolet backed program, and we're the Toyota backed program. You know that.
Okay.
Maybe you did know that.
Well, no, I knew you guys were
Yeah.
a Toyota team.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys get a lot of support from Toyota.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But nobody's 100% funded by Toyota, contrary to what people think. Same thing with the Chevy deal. Max Siegel, he puts whatever Chevrolet doesn't put in, he has to come up with himself. Same program with us. If a driver gets so much money through the program, then whatever less balance of that cost, then either the parents or they have sponsors that will come in and fill the bill.
Are there any drivers that you see out there today or look at and think that you'd like to have him in your car, but they don't have the money to do it?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there, but and that's I'll take away from that question, so to speak. That's my son Billy's job. He finds all the talent. He spots all the people that he feels. I guess he looks at the drivers first. Okay, we need this guy. Okay, this guy looks good. He looks like they'll fit into our program. So that's the first thing Billy will do. Then he'll contact them and say, hey, we're looking at maybe possibly, having you come into our program. Where are you at? What can you bring? And then we go from there. there's a couple drivers that we've tested that can't come up with the money that, Ty Majeski.
They need the
You know,
support.
Ty Majeski is one of those guys that I think the last one that has come through the ranks without bringing some money.
Really? Okay.
But I think he's had some people help him. He's had to have some
Right.
people help him.
There's always backing from somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
Right, I understand.
But he's the one that I feel has come through the ranks with the least amount of support financially that he's gotten.
Ah, okay. But what you guys have built, though, has been incredible. I mean, besides your 2 ARCA championships that you won as a driver, I mean, how many has the whole organization won? Like a bazillion?
Well, we're okay. You know, like right now, I think there's 26 drivers in NASCAR right now that have come through our program.
Wow.
You know,
Like, rattle off, name drop here, rattle off some of the drivers that have driven for you guys, because I know the list is long.
Christopher Bell,
Joey Logano, I mean,
Alex Bowman,
Eric Jones,
Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace. William Byron,
Bowman.
Willie B. Yeah, Bowman. Christian Eckes, Corey Heim.
Okay.
Todd Gilliland.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Chandler Smith. You know, those
Christian Eckes.
Yeah.
I mean,
out of all of those professional drivers that have moved up through the ranks, which is the one that you kind of enjoyed the most going with racing?
That's hard.
You can't play favorites.
There's a few.
Are there any that you wish are still driving for you guys just because, you know, of their ability on track and their overall?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we've learned.
Our job is to build them up
and send them off.
Okay, I gotcha.
We hope that they get everything that Billy is trying to teach them so they can further their careers. And our ultimate is when they're winning championships at the cup level.
Okay.
Joey's done it twice for us.
Right. He's kind of shown that you can win 2 championships and come through with, you know, driving for the Venturinis.
Noah Graxton, Zane Smith, they've all come through our program. You know, the truck drives.
I know it's been a list a mile long because you guys bring so many drivers to the track now. Now you have Amber Balkan, right? Who's been on who's been on the show before? Tony Breitinger.
Yes.
Who else you have?
Jesse Love,
Connor Mosak.
Jones.
Connor Jones. That's it. The other Connor.
Dean Thompson, Gus Dean. Who else?
Now which ones run full seasons?
The only one running full season is Jesse Love in the ARCA Premier Series, and Higurani in the West Series and the East Series.
And the East
Series. He's running full time both in Sean Higurani, the East and the West Series, and the only one running full time in the Premier Series is Jesse Love.
Do you guys ever have weekends where you have trucks going in both directions?
Yes.
Yes. When we won Talladega, April 22nd, we were in Talladega in the morning, and we won there, and we won in Irwindale at night.
Okay.
So we were in California with 1 team and Talladega with 4 teams.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Yeah.
With now, you know, ARCA is definitely a development series. It's also a place for short trackers to kind of move up to the bigger tracks. We've seen that with guys like Andy Seiss and Andy Jankowiak who come from the modifieds and stuff. What are your thoughts on those guys like them or Willie Mullins that don't run all the time, but they are trying to put together as good of a team as they can?
Well, you just mentioned drivers that we all like.
Yeah.
So that made it real easy.
Yeah, Andy and Andy are great. They really are.
I'm glad to see that they're increasing their involvement with ARCA. It's just, it's like Greg Van Alst. You know, this is his first. He's never run full-time ARCA. He's the one that won Daytona. He's now running full-time ARCA. You know, Andy J, as we call him, you know, he's increased his races that he's going to do. Good guys wish they had enough money to run the whole program. Believe me, we wish there were 20 full-time teams because it just makes the series better. And when we won last week at Kansas, one of the crew chiefs from I won't mention which team, came up to us and congratulated us. And he used to work for us, and he said, I said, well, I want to thank you. He says, I want to thank you guys. And I said, for what? He says, because you've set the bar higher than anyone else, and it makes us better trying to catch you.
Oh, good. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, and I thought, well, I don't want to be the bar. I just want to be the race team. But
right.
But
when you're on the top of the mountain, everyone else is trying to knock you off. Oh my gosh,
right? We got arrows on our backs every day, targets on our back every day. But it made me realize that I hope everyone sees that we're making the series better and it's more competitive. If you watch an ARCA race lately, it's competitive.
Oh yeah,
that's what I mean.
I was the reporter for K&N for almost 10 years, so yeah, I get it. Yeah, I still watch it. I have an affection for the ARCA series and of course the modifieds doing that. So I try to keep up with what's going on. Absolutely, believe me. I miss being on pit road. I do. I miss that action of being down in the trenches.
That's what my daughter said. She
was up in the booth,
and she said
she says, I couldn't wait to get back to pit road.
Those
are my people. Mm-hmm. She said that's where I grew up, and she loves it down there.
It's it's controlled chaos. The big difference is too when you're up in the booth and you're play-by-play or you're the host, you are on, all the time. When you are down on pit road, you have that moment to take that mental break and prepare what you're going to say next. The up in the booth stuff, you've got to be.
Yeah, that's why I swear up in the booth.
You got to think exactly. You can't swear up in the booth. You can't. No dropping F-bombs and all that kind of stuff. So, when did Billy wanted to start racing? Did he start off in go-karts and all that?
He started out. You got to realize.
Legend cars.
Yeah, you got to realize I was racing. So I couldn't let Bill. He was my tire changer at 13 or 14 or whatever.
No, 16 because that's when I retired.
Okay. So,
then you didn't like him going over the wall, I bet, right?
Well, when he turned 16, he had been spotting for Bill.
Yeah, he started spotting for me at 13.
He said, I want to change tires. I'm old enough now to come down on pit road. And Bill looked at him and says, I got my tire changers. And he says, if you can talk your mother into stopping changing tires, you can take her tire. Mm-hmm. Mothers are suckers. We always give our kids what they want.
Yeah.
So he started changing tires, but that didn't last long because then he started driving.
Well, when we moved down here, a friend of mine had a Legends car, and his son didn't like it. So he says, hey, if you want to let Billy have the Legends car, you can race my car. So, okay. I couldn't afford to Billy race ARCA because I was still racing.
Right.
So that's when he met J.D. Gibbs, when he had the Legends car and they were racing at Charlotte because J.D. was racing Legends cars back then too. And Billy and J.D. hit it off really good then. Well, then Billy started to run the Legends cars, and we went to a racetrack, and I had a backup car in the trailer, and I think it was Louisville. Mm-hmm. It was Louisville, yeah. We went to an ARCA race in Louisville, and they were short cars. And Bob Logo, who was the race director at the time, came up to me and says, hey, Bill, can you bring out your backup car? And I said, why? He says, well, we're short cars. He says, can Billy get in it and start the race with your backup car? And I thought, oh, God, I don't really want to do this. I don't want him to get into the car and then, want to race. Mm-hmm. So I says, yeah, okay, I'll let him do that. And son of a gun, he ran good, of course. So, so now I'm thinking, oh, shit, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. So then we went to Odessa?
I-70?
Yeah. I-70.
Fast place, too.
Fast place.
Mm-hmm. He was good.
And I brought the second car to let him race, and some gun was faster than me, okay? And it was one of those, okay, Dad, here it is. Here's the sign of what's happening. Well, on the back of his car, because they were both painted identical, and back then, you wreck somebody, they turn around and wreck you, or you move you over. On the back of the car he was driving, he put, I am not my dad.
That's great. Because how many feathers did you ruffle?
Well, I bumped you once. I moved you twice.
Oh, it's one of those, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
At what point, though, were you saying to myself, this is time for me to call it quits and retire?
We moved here in 93. 94, at that point, I knew Billy wanted to race. I knew I was at the point in my life where I've done everything I wanted. I run some cup races. I run truck. I run Xfinity. I've won 2 championships. I still hold the track record at Daytona and Talladega. So that's something I'm very proud of.
For a car.
For ARCA. For ARCA series.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I hold the track record there.
How many miles an hour?
200 at Daytona average and 205 average at Talladega.
Wow.
I'm the fastest man in ARCA history.
There you go. Good.
So
it's a nice bragging thing to have.
And so I've accomplished a lot of things in my life. Well, now I felt it was time for Billy. Mm-hmm. And that's when he really started to race, and then I backed out. Mm-hmm. In 94, we had a sponsor that gave me enough money that me and Billy both could race.
Okay.
And then that was it. Then I got out of the seat and said, all right, it's time for Billy.
All right. Now, when you were starting to retire, what were your thoughts, Cathy? Because apparently you were the one who wants to keep racing and keep going.
I was busy with Billy.
Okay. So you were a race mom then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I went from race wife to race mom.
So you had no qualms about your son hopping in a car and racing?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I always worried, but that's a mom's job.
So I got to tell you, we're in Atlanta.
Okay.
We're running the ARCA race. And back then there were 67 cars, I think, trying to make the show. Wow. And I knew I was going to make the show because I was quick. Billy's in the second car. And he
did give Billy the second car.
I did give him. Okay, so I said, all right.
So you got all the good stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So he's practicing, and he's okay. He may make the show. He may qualify the show. So it comes time to qualify, and I said, all right, Billy. I said, no, this is Atlanta. I'm giving you, and I never gave him stickers. All the years he raced, he always had used tires. So I said, all right, I'm going to give you a set of stickers.
Sounds like my dad.
Yeah. Okay. I said, I'm going to give you a set of stickers. He says, okay. He says, what can I expect? I said, all right, you can come around. You're going to get the green flag. Don't lift. He says, what? I says, run through 1 and 2 wide open. When you get to 3 and 4, you're going to want to lift. Don't lift. Run at full throttle. He says, you sure? I said, Billy, I promise it's going to stick. He said, when you cross the start-finish line, don't run in 1 and 2 your second lap, full throttle. I says, because it probably won't stick. He says, okay. He goes out there, runs the first lap, qualifies like 14th, I think, for the ARCA show. Okay. Did just what I said, come in. I says, well, he says, that was scary.
Yeah.
He says, but it did stick. I says, I know. I told you it would stick 1 lap. It won't stick 2.
Because you're carrying too much speed by then, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, how many races did you guys do together?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Really? Was it?
That's a question I'm gonna have to find out.
I was gonna say, was it a lot, or was it just maybe one season?
No, it was probably 15, 20 maybe.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
To get a chance to race with your dad, that's pretty cool, and also for a dad to race with his son. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I never had that opportunity. My dad was more of a car owner, but over the years, like for you guys though, like, to use an Italian term, you guys made your bones in the ARCA series. You know, you came from the era of the Bob Shacks, the Tim Steeles, the Bobby Dodders, and like these were guys that could make a living racing in this series. Can it still happen? Not from a driver's point of view. I mean, a team, but can you guys raced in that era where you can make a living and you didn't have to go to Cup?
I don't really think you made a living. I think because we all had second jobs. We all had second businesses. Mm-hmm. Bobby Dodder was a mechanic. Bob Shack was a body man at a Ford dealership. We all had our jobs. I had the gas stations. Mm-hmm. We all had our jobs that sustained our lifestyle. We could race and support our racing through racing. You couldn't make a living, mm-hmm. but you could make a living. You could make your racing program survive. Okay. Racing. That's what we did. Every time until I got Amico, I guess it was, whatever the car made, but right back into the race team. So we were able to race with what we made or what we, saved or put in our pockets. But you couldn't make a living doing it. ARCA wasn't that. I don't think racing at that time, except for a couple Cup guys, where it was that way. Now today, once you get into and even the trucks and the Xfinity, most of the times they got to bring a program.
Yeah.
You know,
I know. There's the ones that are making a living or working on the cars, and you know, that's their full-time job. But going back earlier, when you guys met, like when you guys were just dating and everything, were you into racing then, or did he introduce it to you? Did you come from a racing family, Cathy?
I came from a little bit of a racing family. My uncle had a car at Rockford Speedways, and I was 6, 7 years old, and we used to go while he had the car, and they were sponsored by Meisterbrow.
which was a beer company.
Which was a beer. I remember Meisterbrow.
Way back. I mean, so you know how long ago that was. And we used to all just pile in the stands, and the kids all in the car, and we used to go watch his car run.
Okay.
And
did you guys meet at the track?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I lived in a beach town up north, north of Chicago.
Up by a lake.
Okay.
Okay. And he went up there with my cousin, who my aunt was had a resort house in the backyard. And they went up there to spend a couple of weekends, and I met him then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Rockford, you know, that's where her uncle raced. That's where my dad raced. He raced at Soldiers Field and Rockford and O'Hare Stadium. Rockford was my home track.
What are your thoughts about that place being torn down?
You know, Sue Deary, the Dearys, I have to tell you, the Dearys mean so much to me. Hugh Deary, because when I was racing, pulled me into his office one day, and he said, "Bill," he says, "we're in the entertainment business. Remember that. Racing is entertainment." And he says, "I see some of these guys come into this track and they can't afford shoes for their kids or this and that because they want to race." He said, "If I ever see you shortchange your family, I'm going to bar you from my speedway."
Oh, wow.
And that message has stuck with me for 50 years, that I will never shortchange my family, which I never did, to go racing. So, you know, speaking of Rockford, and then when we met, she didn't know who I was. She didn't know I loved racing. When I lived with my dad, I couldn't have a race car.
Because he raced.
And he quit in '59, but he knew that if I went racing, he says, it's an addiction. You're gonna go broke racing. And I said, no. He said, well, you're never gonna race as long as you live in my house. Well, okay. I got married. I moved out of his house, and next week I was racing.
Oh my God.
You know, so and I was a mechanic at his gas station at that point. And he said, okay, you know, you did what I asked you to do. Now you're on your own.
So going back, you moved out to start racing, or you got married too, right?
Right.
Now, were you driving a race car before you were married? Because you said you were racing on your honeymoon.
No,
that wasn't the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time I ran a
it was
stock car.
The very first time?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did some drag racing. I did some drag racing because but I never got in a stock car till I also raced go-karts as a kid growing up.
Okay.
But on our honeymoon, when I got into a hobby stock, back then they were called hobby stocks or street stocks, and that was the first time I ever raced.
At Flat Rock or Rockford?
Rockford.
Okay.
Rockford Speedway.
Okay.
And I ran Rockford from 73 to 77.
So you were kind of around that era when John Knaus was racing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you knew Chad when he was
Chad
young?
and Billy played together in the playground at
Okay.
Rockford Speedway.
Okay.
But Johnny, at that point in 74, ARCA Rockford changed the rules to they were called the Rockford rules. And they went from the old late models, big tires, 454 engines, big blocks, big slicks. They went to a 350 cubic inch rule, 2-barrel carburetor, and street tires. Well, at that point, I had run the hobby stock for 3 months in 73. Well, come 74, I was going to build me a new hobby stocker to go run. And well, then they changed the rules. So I told them, it pays $35 to win the hobby stock race. It pays $25 to finish last in the late model race. Let's go late model racing. So I decided to do that, and I ran the Rockford rules. But Johnny Knaus didn't change over to the rules, so he only raced there when there were specials. But I raced with Johnny there at National Short Track Championship for years.
Okay.
Because we've done that. I sponsor lap 25 still.
Oh, really?
For that, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the home track. Was Chad as clever then as he is now?
Oh, he was a kid. I don't know.
He was. Well, wasn't he crew chief in his father's car when he was a kid, though?
I don't know. I only knew Johnny. I didn't know Chad till Chad moved down here and became a crew chief, and then I said, hey, I knew your dad, and one of those deals.
Okay,
yeah.
one of those deals.
Yeah, because Billy and him played in the playground a little, but I didn't pay attention to what the kids did back then.
Nowadays, and you've seen it over the years, the way that the kids are racing nowadays. I mean, we're seeing a lot of bump and run, lay a fender on someone.
I wish they had to fix it.
Take them out the last. We've seen in late model racing, just the leader get dumped with 1 or 2 to go, and like, what is your back in the day when you did that? You got your ass beat. What is your take on all of that and how it's going and the whole Rubbin's racing thing today? Because in my opinion, contrary to popular opinion, Rubbin is not racing. It is a line from a stupid movie. It is really. I come from the open wheel world.
Open wheel, you don't touch.
You don't touch each other. Well, the same. I mean, I don't know. In stock car racing, the whole bump and run thing. You didn't win. You knocked the guy out of the way to win. It's just. What is your take on how these kids?
I
are
wish
racing
these
now?
kids had to work on them.
Make them. Can you make them work on them?
What are you, crazy? I wish they had to pay for them and work on them. Mm-hmm. They'd have a whole new outlook on how they raced. Mm-hmm. That's what I like about Ty Majeski. That kid has worked on his cars from day one, and he races them. Mm-hmm. But I can't complain. We've got a bunch of good kids right now. We have,
great kids.
We all the kids that we have, and I'll call them kids, from Joey Logano on up, because that's where they started with me as kids. Mm-hmm. They were all pretty respectful of what we had. There were a couple that weren't, which I called them out on it. But as a whole, our drivers were okay. But I don't know. You may now like rubbing his racing. I don't mind side bumping. I don't mind if you're underneath somebody, you kind of lean on his door, or vice versa. They lean on your door. Taking them out, totally different story.
Right. Because I've chatted with other spotters and car owners about this, and you see a rash of it in late model racing lately.
Oh, late model racing's gotten crazy.
Oh, the technology into it now. I mean, it is,
and they're expensive to run.
Right. What is your take on the current state of late model racing? Because there's so many different rules here, there, everywhere. Pro late models, super late models, late model stocks. Do you think we need one unified set of rules where you can travel all over the country?
Yes, it would make it so much easier.
Why did it get out of hand?
I don't know. Because everybody thinks they have the better idea. Yeah. Everybody thinks that, hey, my idea is better than yours, so I don't like racing your program. I'm going to start my own. And then someone says, well, I don't like this. I'm going to start this, and we're going to change that. Greg McCarnes up in Midwest, he's a very good advocate for trying to get standardized rules. Mm-hmm. You got to realize, if you can get 10 racetracks in your area to have the same rules, just run on different days, you're all going to have a good car count.
Right.
You have a good car count, you're going to have good people in the stands. Mm-hmm. You put on 30 cars on a racetrack, you're not going to have 500 people in the stands. You're going to have 5,000 people in the stands. Mm-hmm. You know that. Yeah. I go back and I look at a picture from my dad racing at Soldiers Field, 1952. 72,000 people in the stands. In 1952.
That was like an actual stadium.
Soldiers Field.
Soldier Field. Yeah. I've seen pictures of the place. It looks like a stadium.
Yeah, it was a stadium. And it was flat.
It was a giant Bowman Gray, right?
A giant Bowman Gray, exactly.
Right.
And Andy Granatelli,
STP,
mm-hmm. was the promoter.
Okay.
And it was called the North Turn and the South Turn. The North Turn was where the pits were, and so there were no stands in the South Turn. In the North Turn. Mm-hmm. In the South Turn, there were stands all the way around the racetrack. So he would pay. Now you got to realize, my dad drove for him for 6 years. He paid $20 if you'd flip your car in the South Turn. If you flipped your car in the North Turn, you didn't get any money. because there were no fans there.
In front of the crowd.
Yeah, now you got to remember they raced 54s, top heavy, the jalopies they were called.
Right, street tires.
Street tires, yeah, and they'd roll over pretty good.
Right.
So my dad, he was the rollover king, man. He'd make 20 extra bucks rolling it over in the south turn.
Oh my God! And that is what 1950.
52.
And $20 is like 200.
Yeah,
back then,
right. It was $20 to roll your car.
Oh my God, that is insane.
I have one of my dad's expense books for the whole year was $135
For what?
to race the whole year at Soldiers Field.
For the whole year.
His expense book, like $2 for tires, and $1.50 to fix bent wheels.
Oh wow! You talk about the money of it too. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You talk about the money of it. I was just about to do that. Okay, hang on. Ready? You talk about the money of the racing that they did back then compared to now. It's gotten so expensive to race, and in my belief is if you keep it affordable, you keep the car count. Because I've seen many instances where spending got out of hand in a division and it had 30 cars go down to 5. So what is it that we can do to kind of like keep the costs lower to keep more guys coming?
Shoot the crew chiefs.
Okay. I hope your employees don't hear this. Chris, edit that out.
I mean, everybody's looking for the edge, more, and if it takes more technology costs more money. Mm-hmm. The sanctioning bodies are sometimes their own worst own enemies by changing the rules, and then now you change the rules to save us money, which now in turn costs us money. We changed the rules. I'll give you a good example. A couple of years ago, they allowed us to have rear ends, skewed rear ends. Back when it looked like the cars were crab walking.
Right, down the straightaways.
Okay, that was all done with your skew in the rear ends. Mm-hmm. Well, there was no rule against it. So, of course, we all started to put more skew and more skew and more skew. And I got to realize, I'm going to say, we have 20 cars. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's $2,000 a rear end housing. So, for me to fund this new rule change, so I spend $40,000 for rear ends, to have the skewed rear ends. Well, then we find out, you can run more skew. Well, you can't get it out of these rear ends. We got to buy new rear ends. So there's another $40,000. Well, then they come out with it. Now you got to realize everybody's got these. Now they say, okay, you can't run skewed rear ends. So now I throw out $80,000 worth of rear ends, and I got to buy another $40,000 worth of rear ends. Then I got to buy another $40,000 for backup cars, or spare rear ends.
So is it like a cycle of spending to save?
Yes. And it's been that way for years. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to get rid of it. I really don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you see it in Cup. Years ago, how many cars were there for Cup racing? 50.
Right.
I would know because I used to try and make the Cup races. Mm-hmm. I made some of them I didn't make. I didn't qualify fast enough. Now, I got this charter thing. Okay, so these 36 guys, you could suck and be 36th and still make the race. Mm-hmm. But you're only racing for 4 spots, so and it costs so much to get in. To what's a car today?
Oh, in the Cup Series.
In the Cup Series,
I heard. I don't even know if it's true. Is it upwards of like $600,000?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, $600,000 for a car. So how can a guy like me, who used to race Cup, say, "Hey, we're going to run a couple Cup races"? I'm not going to spend $600,000 for one car just to try and make the show. And they say, "Hey, we're saving the car owners money." Well, you may be saving Rick Hendrick and, Penske and Gibbs, but you're not saving the other 35 guys that want to do it. Wow. So, I mean, but safety is part of it. Uh-huh. Definitely what they've done for safety-wise is much better.
For the ARCA cars or the Cup cars?
Cup cars.
Okay.
Now, we're years behind from the Cup program. Uh-huh. We're about 3 years behind with our technology, with our cars and what we have.
What, because of the truck arm chassis?
Yes.
Well, that's been used for decades.
Right?
Right?
Yeah. So I don't see us changing because if they do that, the series it'll go broke. They can't change the rules to go to, 5 years ago we take a Cup car, you could buy a Cup car and use it. Now you can't. You can't use anything.
Right, that was the thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember the Busch North Series, I pit reported a bunch of races up at Thompson and Stafford where over the winter, those teams would go down south, buy a Cup or a Busch car, bring it back up, paint it in their livery, and they would go racing. That's how they would do it. Now you have purpose-built ARCA cars with drop snouts and all the technology, the geometry.
Fuel cells. We're allowed both an 18 and a 22-gallon fuel cell, either one. Well, now the Cup cars don't have 22-gallon fuel cells. Okay, nobody does except they're allowed in ARCA. Well, at some of the races we want a 22-gallon fuel cell. So before you could call the fuel cell company and they'd be in stock. Well, they don't make them anymore. They're all custom made. So if you want a 22-gallon fuel cell, it takes 4 weeks to get one instead of 3 days to ship it.
Oh, man.
Because the company, the manufacturer, is not making them. Look at lug nuts. The lug nut company used to make thousands and thousands of lug nuts for the Cup guys. Okay, now, and I used to be sponsored by one of those companies. Well, now that they can't sell them to the Cup guys, I can't get them for free because I have to buy them because they're making less and less.
Right, because they're a business and they have to keep the doors open and the lights on just like everyone else.
So, they're hurting us a little financially with what we were used to be able to get with this new car. But, hey, it is what it is.
How much...
If you don't like it, don't race.
Yeah. With all that new influx of the Cup cars, how much has that talent as far as mechanics, engineers, and all that filtered down to ARCA and trucks and Busch and has any of it filtered down that way?
We try.
Yeah.
But would they get to the point where, let's say 100 of them are going to lose their jobs because of the technology? You don't have body men anymore. You don't have these big fabricators that used to do all the cars, all the different mechanics. So say there's 100 leaving. 85% of them go back to what they were doing before they were in racing.
Really?
Yeah. We were hoping it'd make a big difference and we'd get a good influx of people, but it hasn't. Those people said, you know what? I'm just tired of it. I'm not going to do it. And they go back to Michigan, they go back to Ohio, they go back to Kentucky, wherever they're from, and do their jobs that they were doing before they come into racing.
Wow. And they're probably making the same or more, with the skill set that they have, doing a non-racing job.
Yeah. You got to realize racing isn't a job.
Right.
It's a lifestyle.
Right. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and you got to commit to that lifestyle. These kids come in and say, "Hey, I want to work. I want to." Says, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." Nah, we don't have jobs. What do you mean? Well, we have lifestyles.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to adapt to that lifestyle, which is not seeing your wife or your kids a lot, right. Traveling a lot, working a lot of hours, and sometimes getting yelled at when you do something wrong. If that's not for you, I can't help it,
Right. It's part of it. You got to have thick skin, and it's the way that racers are.
And you got to realize ARCA, because of who we are, and my wife will attest to this. We get ARCA is a stepping stone, not only for the drivers, for the crew members.
Yep.
We get them out of.
We get them going up, and we get them coming down.
Oh, really? As far as the crew guys go?
Yep. Yeah. They've led that rapid lifestyle with Cup, and they want to slow down. So there's some very available, good employees.
It's funny that you say that, too, because in the years in the K&N, you'd see those Cup crew guys come, and they'd come down to K&N, and they would love it because it was like, man, this is like we were going bush racing back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and just being back at the short tracks, there's less pressure on them too, and for them the fun comes back. That's the biggest thing.
I'll mention if you remember NASCAR crew chief Fatback.
Oh, yeah.
Michael McSwain was a crew chief for many years in the Cup Series. Got tired of it, opened up his own business. Already sold his business December. I think it was
He
December.
just sold the tire and auto repair?
Yeah, he
Yep.
sold the tire
He
and
just
auto.
sold it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
He's
we
back
called
at
him.
our shop.
He's at our shop.
Great.
But he said, I don't want to go racing. He's our shop foreman. He said, I'll do whatever we have to do in the shop. He says, but I'm not going traveling. Mm-hmm. And if my kid's got a baseball game, I got to go to his baseball game.
Right. He was on Junior's show saying that he wants to do something with racing again.
That's how we knew he was interested.
Oh, by listening to the show?
We heard that and it says, hey, let's call Fatback and see when he worked for Melling.
That's cool.
He was crew chief for Melling Racing. They were my tenant.
Oh, okay.
In my shop.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I wasn't using the whole building, and I was only using 5,000 square feet. And Melling leased the rest of the building out, and Fatback was the crew chief for them back in the 94, 95, or whenever it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you still own buildings and like
Yes.
that? Or you,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
do some property stuff too.
Yeah.
So do I. I have rental properties.
Yeah, I have 40,000 square feet of commercial space. But we take up 25 of it for the team.
Now, and this is a question. This is leading me to. This is a question we've been having for a lot of the people that come in is longevity in the sport. Like you guys have been together for 50 years. You've been racing for almost that long too. What is it that you got to do to keep that longevity going in this sport? Because nowadays, it's hard. It seems like it's harder and harder to stay in the sport that we love.
I think if we wouldn't have started when we did, we wouldn't have been in it this long. I don't see my son being in it that long. It's too mentally stressful. Mm-hmm. First of all, to perform like you have to perform, to find the finances to keep the program running. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it.
Really?
If my son wasn't doing the program, we wouldn't be racing today, because that's what I told him. I said, I'll support you, but I'm not going to do this. You have to. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you can survive 30 years in this business, the way it is now. Mm-hmm.
You think it's a changing trend we're going to see? Because what we've seen too is in like sponsors on cars. There's less and less that are for a full season. We're seeing, is that the case where we're seeing drivers have shorter careers and crew chiefs same thing?
Definitely. I think the whole industry is going that way. Car owners. Uh-huh. What happens when Rick Hendrick leaves? Who takes over?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume, or I'm with to assume Jeff Gordon. I mean, he's kind of like taking over that role right now,
guess,
right?
I guess, yeah, but you've got to find somebody that, like, okay, Jeff Gordon, he's passionate about this, so he's good for the deal. I think Jimmy Johnson getting into Legacy Motor Club is a good plus for that, because Richard's just a spokesperson, kind of like what I am for Venturini Motorsports. We're the Mickey Mouse ears,
Right.
Where Maury Gallagher, he loves racing, but he also has Legionnaire. Mm-hmm. So I think with Jimmy Johnson coming into that, he's going to be able to maybe sustain that company a lot longer because of his passion of racing. Like, I should say, she is still passionate about racing. I got to tell you, the other day we were in the hotel, and I don't even know what track we're in. I go, okay, we got to go to racetrack. And I said, tell you what, I said, I'll just stay here and you can go to the racetrack. She says, okay. It's like, okay, I'll leave you in the hotel room. I don't care, but she's not missing a race.
Right. Right. Do you prod him along? Do you try to keep the fire lit under him? Oh, he just said, "Oh God."
Yeah, he's tired. Mm-hmm. I'm not.
You're not. You work out 6 days a week.
Oh, don't rub it in. Get out of here.
I still enjoy the competition. Mm-hmm. You get that adrenaline rush when you win. I mean,
did you ever drive at all?
No.
You never drove or anything?
I drove one powder puff race, and he was a nervous wreck and said never again.
Right.
And it just kind of got out of me. I like
but you still
being in the pits and working in that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I used to load and unload trailers. I used to get everything ready.
Yeah, but But one rule everybody knows when they come to work for us:
What's that?
don't mess with Mama V.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, because you look like you could whoop some ass.
Yeah.
For sure.
I had 4 brothers, and I was the oldest, but they were all bigger than me.
And come from an Italian household. You know.
Yeah, she doesn't need her fist to beat you up. Her voice, you know that.
I tell people I come from an Italian household. They know 2 emotions: happy and pissed off.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
That's right. So keep Mama happy.
Keep Mama happy. Cool. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys have got hours and hours of stories that you could keep sharing. And we definitely would love to have you guys back again. But before we go, I also want to say thank you, because anytime I was at the track pit reporting the races or something, you guys were so gracious to give me something to eat or come on over and grab a bite or a Gatorade when it was hot or something. So thank you guys for being that nice to me when I was doing the job.
Well, thank you for being nice to us. I mean, you know, we need each other.
Yeah. We're all trying to lift each other up in this business, right?
Yes, we all have to support each other.
Right. I'm not reporting anymore, so I switched over to doing this show, and hopefully it catches on, and we're gonna keep doing it because I love doing it. That's number one, because I get to drop the reporter curtain and just be me. You know, I don't have to be that stiff guy with the microphone.
Well, you got it from me.
You know. So I'll tell everybody that Big Bill taught me everything I know, right?
No, I meant you. You got me dropping the curtain too. I mean, I'm pretty. Billy made it many years ago. He said, "Hey, Dad, at what point did you not give a shit?"
Oh my God!
And I said 60.
Yeah. Some of Billy's lines on the air are just hysterical. I mean, he tore one driver apart last year, and I was like, wow. He was, you know.
But he doesn't say anything that he
hold
doesn't
back.
feel.
Right. I was going to say, you don't have to worry about what's on his mind. He's going to tell you. That's the one thing I like about Billy. So, but guys, thank you very much. We have to wrap it up, but yes, it was a great time. Bill and Cathy Venturini joining us on the Derek Perniciglio Show. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.